Singapore has closed its border to long-term pass holders and short-term visitors who have recently been to India. The new measure takes effect on Saturday. The tighter restrictions follow a growing COVID-19 crisis in India. There are also new rules for the migrant worker population, which has seen the formation of a new virus cluster. Isabel Lim joins us live now for more on this. Isabel, what are the details of the new border controls?
Right. So as you mentioned, the border closure is the main measure that was announced today at the press conference. And this border closure will apply to all long-term pass holders and short-term visitors with a recent travel history, and this includes transiting in India. And this measure will start to apply from Saturday, so specifically the Friday midnight hour going into Saturday. It will actually also apply to all of those who have obtained prior approval before arriving in Singapore. So those travelers are not spared either. Now, for those travelers who are coming from India and they are already here serving out their stay-home notices, they'll actually also be affected. So previously, these travelers, they were told that they had an additional 7-day stay-home notice to complete on top of their 14-day stay-home notice. And now this 7-day stay could previously be done in their place of residence. But after the announcement today, that's really not the case anymore. Now, for this 7 additional days, they have to complete it in dedicated facilities. And of course, the context over here is that India has recently seen a huge spike in cases, almost 315,000 daily, a global record high. And there's also been talk of a variant strain of the virus, B1617, that some are speculating is behind the spike. So, Minister Lawrence Wong talked today during the conference about why these new measures are necessary.
The majority of new arrivals from India work in the construction, marine and process sectors, and they live in the dormitories. Even if they were to serve out the stay-home notice, we know that that is never 100% foolproof and leaks can still happen. And if such a leak were to happen amongst new Indian arrivals working in these sectors, then a new strain may get leaked into the dormitory, and worse, even recovered or vaccinated workers may get infected, and then we may see new clusters emerging again in our dormitories.
Isabel, what about the recent dormitory cases? How will this affect broader policies for all migrant workers?
Right. So, the context for these recent dorm cases is that up to 17 of those workers who were found to be COVID-19 positive had actually recovered from a previous infection. So obviously this raises concerns about whether recovered workers are not as immune to the virus as we, previously thought. So because of this, testing will be reintroduced for recovered workers. And these are recovered workers who are more than 270 days from their last infection. So previously, recovered workers were totally exempt from rostered routine testing, which happens every 14 days. Now, another policy that was mentioned today that might change is vaccination. So currently, recovered workers are not vaccinated. Vaccinations are given to workers who don't have a previous COVID-19 infection. They are eligible because they're deemed more vulnerable than those who had previously been infected. But now, they are considering giving a booster jab to recovered workers. So this would be a single shot of the vaccine. Now, of course, all of these new measures, the border closures, the longer stay-home notices, and even more testing, all of this will have an impact on the construction, marine and process sector that's already been hit by a really bad manpower crunch. And that's actually something that Minister Lawrence Wong also acknowledged during the conference today. Let's take a look at what he said.
We know that this major move will have an impact on our construction, marine and process sectors. And many local SMEs and contractors will be badly impacted. The government will be looking at providing additional support measures to help these companies. We are reviewing to see what these support measures will be, and we will announce them when ready. For the construction sector in particular, there have already been delays in building and housing projects up to now. I think with this additional restriction of workers, there will be further delays in projects.
Now, Mr. Wong, asked Singaporeans, sought their understanding and their patience because of these delays, but said that these were necessary measures because of public health.
All right, Isabel, thank you very much. Isabel Lim there reporting.
A stop work order has been issued to a work site after migrant workers who'd been there were found to be infected with COVID-19. It comes after the authorities discovered a cluster of 18 infected workers living at Westlight Woodlands dormitory. Most of them are from the marine sector. Melissa Goh joins us live from outside the dormitory. Mel, the multi-task force has released details of the situation at the dorm.
Yes, so now movement in and out of the dormitory is now strictly restricted. It's now likely Singapore's largest COVID-19 cluster with a total of 18 cases. At the heart of these infections is a 35-year-old Bangladesh national who tested positive on Tuesday as part of rostered routine testing. He was in fact already vaccinated, taking his second dose last week. Immediately, 30 close contacts within the dormitory were isolated, and the authorities started testing all residents within the dormitory. So far, 17 recovered workers have tested positive. Now, these recovered workers have not yet been vaccinated. At the scene today, we could see ambulances coming in and out of the compounds, ferrying infected workers to the National Centre of Infectious Diseases. We understand that authorities and the experts are now looking into whether or not these workers were reinfected or if they are just persistent shedders of an earlier infection. Now, as to why these 17 cases were not included in the daily case count, let's hear the authorities on the reason why.
The majority of them were actually recovered workers. So because they're recovered workers, we picked up through the RRT itself that they had this lower CT value, and hence it was a reinfection. Currently, they are under investigation with NCID to see whether they are indeed recovered workers but are persistent shedders. So I don't have that detail because that investigation is still undergoing.
Now, Melissa, what happened at Westlight earlier today then?
Yeah, so it's been 11 hours and counting that I've been here, and tens of buses have been coming in and out of the compound. Residents at the dormitory have been waiting all day to be moved to quarantine facilities in batches. It's a huge undertaking, but the buses seem to have cleared out for the night. The agenda is, according to a circular, to move 1,000 residents in the affected Block A, out for a 14-day quarantine. So just to give you a closer look at the dormitory can hold up to 4,000 residents, but it is not clear how many are staying there now. These are units in the second block, Block B, where residents are now likely awaiting their test results. This is the largest number of cases in the dormitory in months, and all this is especially alarming as it triggers concerns of a possible second wave of infections. The bulk of Singapore's over 60,000 cases occurred in the dormitories, triggering a lockdown in the premises last year.
All right, many thanks for that. Melissa Goh speaking to us from outside the Westlight dormitory.